Listen to Herald Radio's Trending Now. David Paul-Egos, thank you very much for joining us. The great Suffolk pollster, once again, great job. We're going to shift now up to New Hampshire, not Scott Brown, but to a congressional race up there. There's a couple of congressional races that are going to be very interesting. One of them, we have with us right now, one of those races, State Senator Linda Garcia, Republican, who won the nomination for the second district, and will be going off against Ann Custer. Linda, thank you very much for being with us here on Trending Now.
My pleasure. Thank you, and also thanks for the upgrade. I have to confess I'm a state representative.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That is
Joe's new to this stuff, Maryland.
Yeah,
So
I was reading a Huffington Post story that called you a state senator, but
I know. Actually, it was wrong there, and I think in the Wall Street Journal as well. So not
really, wow.
People watch you nationally.
You should just say you are. Then, yeah, people are watching you. And congratulations, by the way, on your primary win. You did have an opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going against Ann Custer in the second district, which is the western half of New Hampshire, right?
It's basically the southern border, the western half, and then north of Conway, the entire northern tip.
That was my old district when I lived in Keene. I grew up in Keene.
Yeah.
So anyway, you're a very interesting race. You're going up against an incumbent, Ann Custer. I think 2 terms maybe she's been there.
This is her first term.
Well, you are batting 1,000.
She's going. What I meant was she's going for 2 terms. Anyway, you are an extremely accomplished candidate. You have several degrees. I believe you went to Harvard Kennedy School down there. You got awards down there. I think. Where did you go to college again?
I went to Tufts University
and
Conservatory of Music. I did a joint degree there.
That's right. Yeah. So you play the, I'm going to get this wrong again, cello? Violin.
Harp.
Oh, this is a disaster. Would you like me to take it from here, John?
Tom Check.
You want to say my name one more time?
No, actually, I know you. It's Linda. And it's all one name, by the way, not Mary Linda, Linda.
Yeah, I was named after my great-aunt and my grandmother, Maria and Linda, respectively. And so my mom just took out the middle A, and it's Mary Linda.
So tell us what your plans are for the election. I noticed you were upgraded with the Republicans to the part of their Young Guns club, which means they're going to give you money and support. The Republican Congressional Committee is going to give you money and support.
Yeah, it's obviously the law has changed over the evening, and this is considered a very competitive race. Representative Custer is very vulnerable, in part, I think, due to her own lack of merit and responsiveness and her track record and voting record here in the state, and also because she, as recently as a few months ago, self-describes as one of the strongest supporters of the Obama administration and the president in all of U.S. Congress. And frankly, most of the people here in the state aren't pleased with what's been going on with the administration in recent weeks and years and months. So that's the problem.
You're going to be on the ballot with Scott Brown, which is good for you, I think. I think he's going to bring out people to the polls. And also Frank Ginta, who used to be a congressman himself. So that's a pretty strong team, I think, that you have. And I think that what you said was accurate, and I'm sure your people are saying this too, is that Obama is unpopular in New Hampshire. And you saw Scott Brown do it, basically tying Jeanne Shaheen to Obama, and Ann Custer, I think, has voted maybe even closer with Obama than Jeanne Shaheen.
It's about the same. Yeah, it's the accurate percentage is about 95.6%, but upon final passage of the legislation, she's with Obama 99% of the time. So it's about there with Shaheen, for sure.
Now, conversely, Marylinda, the left has, and Jeanne Shaheen's already started it, been using kind of the Tea Party to try to portray opponents as being radical or extremist on the right. And I know that recently Ted Cruz was up there with you, and he is a legit Tea Party guy. Are you afraid that label could hurt you, and are you a Tea Party person?
Well, to be honest, to begin with, I'm not really sure what the Tea Party is, and who is a member, in that I have been working in the legislature here for the last 8 years. And, that entire movement was frankly very organic, and, a wide cross-section of, every demographic and, concerned citizen was involved. And at this point, what I consider when it comes to, Tea Party versus establishment and the way that's talked about in the political context, I think it's very damaging, and it does candidates who are trying to be authentic to promote, their own message about a specific state or issue, but, shared values in general, that it does a disservice to them being able to effectively communicate and garner support. So I eschew all of that and just say, look, I want to work with everybody across the spectrum. I have broad support from across the Republican spectrum, and that is, again, from my time in the legislature and even now through this campaign. Senator Grassley also issued a statement in support of me, and, now, as you see, the NRCC still does. So I just prefer to say this is who I am, this is what I hear is concerning you, concerns me as well, and let's just decide if I represent your values or not, and let's vote based on that.
As Custer, are you going to ask for debates, or has she agreed to debate you yet?
I know there'll be at least one or a series of, programmed scheduled debates. Obviously, we have an accelerated election now, with 2 months basically. Beyond that, I did challenge her, or ask her, I should say, invite her to, I'd be happy to co-host some town hall meetings just so we can both talk to concerned voters.
Yeah, I don't think they do town hall meetings. It doesn't sound.
Yeah, well, she hasn't done a single one her entire term, so I'm guessing if I get a response at all that it will be no thank you, but I did offer that invitation.
Now, I know that your Republican opponent, Gary Lambert, I believe, he was a former state senator, but you trounced him. He ran ads, I believe, attacking you on immigration, saying you were too soft on immigration. Is that correct?
He actually had a series of various attacks, none of which were, based in anything I voted on, spoke to or done. And there was everything from wanting to raise taxes by $140 billion to amnesty to Obamacare. So they've, those have all been refuted.
Tell us what your views are on immigration, illegal immigrants, and what should be done to stop this problem.
Well, I've just made it very clear any reform is futile if we don't secure our border. That's why we keep having problems that are exacerbated as the years go on, and new influxes of illegal immigrants based on our own, I guess, propensity to not respect our own national sovereignty, and then things that are occurring in the world. And the other issue is, well, to add to that, I really think at this point border security goes hand in hand with national security. And, there's never mind our immigration issue and what needs to be done in terms of reforming and clarifying and, strengthening that. But also when you look at the rise in international terrorism and the fact that, with such atrocious groups as ISIS, you have American passports possessed by members of them, and again, just an increasingly unstable, unfortunately, and volatile world. I think that needs to be our first priority for sure.
You had an incredibly tough primary race, tough and how nasty it got, you got attacked pretty viciously by your opponent. And earlier on in the campaign, you got attacked, people saying, what was that, Tom, again? What were the comments that somebody made about you?
Kardashian or something along those lines.
Yeah, my campaign started with a bang and ended with a bang.
Yeah, and then you wouldn't even shake your opponent's hand at the end of a debate, the Liz Lambert guy?
Well, it wasn't, look, it started off, I had some people calling me names on Twitter, shall we say.
Yep.
And then...
Sexist.
And it became,
Yep.
attack ads and, false claims and basically character assassination to the extent of, what I've expressed and advocated for in terms of my values and principles and what I'm seeking to accomplish for basically being, slandered. So that's all that amounted to. And now I'm sure there'll be plenty of new things I'll learn about myself from the Democrats.
I was gonna say it's actually good that you went through that. I think in a way, I'm sure you don't feel that way, but in a way, because the general election is probably going to get even nastier with Democrats. They may be panicking a little bit and be going after not just you, but you've seen what they said about Scott Brown and done about Scott Brown as well. So I'm guessing that you're preparing for another tough campaign.
Yeah, I think I just won't watch TV.
Just work on getting. That's actually a good. Boston Herald Radio is fine though. You can listen to Boston Herald Radio and read the Boston Herald.
It's a supportive, accepting group. Is that what you're
saying? Yes, for everybody. But we're we're going to see on TV. We're going to see on TV anyway. Lots of ads. Mostly, I think Scott Brown. But I just don't think they know what to make of you because you are young and you're a Latina woman. And you have expressed some conservative views, but then some not so conservative views. So they don't quite know what to make of you. That's my take on it.
Well, I think it's simply this: the hyperbolic nature and their basic playbook of what they do. If you're a Republican candidate, they always do the same thing. It's to what you brought up before. They call you a Tea Party extremist and say you're in a war against this one, that one, and the other one. And it can be completely not based in reality. Again, there's a broad spectrum of Republicans, but it doesn't matter where you fall on that. They call everybody the same thing. So I just think that when you have someone, a candidate that, sure, is a little bit out of the ordinary, then it's just harder to throw that same playbook at them. So, again, I guess it's morbid curiosity. I don't know what they'll say, but
I mean, it's tough because I don't believe there has been a Latino congressperson from New Hampshire, has there?
I'm sorry?
There has never been a Latino elected to Congress from New Hampshire, has there?
No, and actually I read an interesting fact that apparently this is the first federal race in New Hampshire that is a female versus a female.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating,
I haven't
too.
checked that, but that's what I heard.
That's fascinating, too. But you haven't, has there been any move for you, considering that it would be historic if you won as the first Latino candidate congressional candidate from New Hampshire? It would be historic, but I'm guessing the Democrats aren't using that as a line because that's what they usually do. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
I was, along those lines, I kind of like to tap here, just as a political observer and somebody who's been doing this for 10 years now, there seems to be a special ire from the opposition reserved for conservative women. More specifically, in your case, and I actually broke this detail, beautiful conservative women. And it's the same thing with the Sarah Palin. And there seems to be a special ire held out for pretty conservative women. I mean, why do you think that is, Marilyn?
Yeah, well, she's also very accomplished, too.
Yes, I know that. Yeah. I know that. But in the accomplished, I agree with you. But there is just seeing the attacks, the Kardashian thing, that's not based on accomplishment.
Right.
That's trying to pigeonhole her as somebody who's just simply getting by on looks.
Right.
And you saw a lot of the same things with Palin a few years ago. Why do you think that is, Marilyn?
Well, I think, look, it's more difficult to demonize people that are likable, right? And people that are not social pariahs and
Right.
and the rest. So, women just by nature and, people that I guess are aesthetically pleasing, it's just hard to make someone out to be an evil, wicked person if it's just
They're jealous.
clear
They're
that
jealous.
they're wrong,
they're jealous. Yeah.
But it's well said.
So
You
they
don't look like the villain, so right.
Yeah, well, they do that to
so
Scott
it's
Brown.
evil.
They actually do that to Scott Brown suffers because, he's a handsome guy and everything. That people cannot stand him for some reason. The other side cannot stand him. I don't know whether it's just like jealousy or something or whatever it is, but they do. There is a special ire for that. I think.
I get it right here in this building.
You don't.
To the psychological, issues of the, liberal derangement syndromes over other candidates, I don't know, but certainly that is true, and it's too bad.
On a more globally relevant note, tomorrow is the anniversary of 9/11. Obviously, there's September 11, 2001, and then Benghazi a couple of years ago. The president's giving a speech tonight that's going to outline his strategy on ISIS. Why is it important for national security that a Republican be elected out of New Hampshire?
Yeah, and what is your position on whether we should use force?
Well, I've said that, our national security, because regardless of if the president wants to accept it or is proud of it or embraces it or denies it or what, we are a global superpower. So, therefore, what we do or don't do does affect general stability or instability in the world. So I think a lot of what we've seen, not only in the rise of international terrorism, and ISIS, of course, being the most awful manifestation of that, is related to that. Then there's the sort of return of the great power rivalry that you see with China and Russia, always pushing the envelope, particularly Russia, seeing what they can get away with, and apparently it's pretty much everything. And then there's the threat of the nuclear Iran, which they've been sort of under the radar lately. So, who knows what they're up to, not having that, national or international attention on them. But in general, the president telegraphs how far we're willing to go or not. That way, foreign aggressors are able to make their plans accordingly. So that's a big problem. Then we've lost, the respect and share, not only of our, friends and, if you want to call them enemies, those that seek to do us harm. So that's a big problem. And a lot of that relates to not having as strong an economy as we could be having, and then also our declining military power. So I think it's really important that we strengthen ourselves at home, but also be prepared to do what is necessary to protect, our national security. And to that extent, obviously it's an evolving situation, in Iraq and Syria and that region in general. So I think it's just important that whatever we do, whatever the strategy we hear tonight, that the president actually follow through, because that's the other issue. I think our friends don't trust us, and our enemies know that they can get away with anything.
Yeah, follow-through has not been one of his strong points lately, I think. Mary Linda, I want to say, once again, congratulations. You proved a lot of people wrong, because I remember when you first started running, they're like, oh, you're a lightweight or whatever they're calling you, even though you have a lot of strong credentials, and there was a lot of that sexism, I think, and I hope that you push back against it if it happens again in the general election, and you can come on here anytime.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
Okay.
And I hope you have a great day.
You too. Thank you very much. Marilinda Garcia, the name is. Marilinda, that's one Marilinda, not Mary.
Marilinda Garcia, she's extremely brilliant. She's got all sorts of, she plays more than one instrument. She's got also cultural skills, political skills, intellectual skills. and she is ridiculously beautiful, which is what I got closer to saying than you did, Van. That is so shameless. I slowly wedge us into the territory, and then you jump on.
First of all, I believe if you go back and check the tape, you said, I'd like to tap you on something. Didn't you?
Did I?
Yes.
That was my inner monologue. We can
check the tape.
But she's beautiful.
No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, the whole thing. No, I agree with you, but I think it'll be interesting to see how Democrats handle this, in the fall, because Ann Custer obviously not going to look that great against her in a next side by side. And so are they going to try to go down that road again of just with these punky attacks on her? Or are they just going to stick with what they were doing with it, going after abortion and issues like that? I think it's going to be one of the interesting races.
It is a tough one because she is overtly intelligent. So it's very hard to make somebody, try to lampoon somebody as simply an airhead when they don't give you anything to work with. Mm-hmm. So, people try to make Mitt look like a detached, awkward rich guy, but he has some of that. So, it feeds into it.
And Scott Brown actually has a little sometimes of the, I think, lightweight. I mean, I don't think he's lightweight, but sometimes he says things that, he'll might give them fodder.
Scott Brown will do a nose...
Sometimes?
Yes.
You think? Christian's going crazy back there for a break. I'm sorry, Christian. Tom was so caught up